Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Faith, Fitness, and Fastballs. I have my girl Amber Griffin here. How you doing today?
Good. I'm so good. So glad to be here. So
Good,
honored to be here. Yes.
good. You already know I had to get you on. Quick, just a background about me and Amber. Me and Amber went to elementary, middle, and high school together. Are
No,
you
just middle.
just
Just middle,
middle?
because I was
Okay, just
not here
middle.
in
You weren't at
elementary.
you ain't claiming that.
I was in
Okay.
Long Beach.
Okay. Yeah, I knew you were a Cali girl, so I just didn't know when. Okay, well still, you were still at middle school and high school together. Live right down the street from me, so we've known each other for a while. Rode the bus, all types of stuff. So
Yep.
uh definitely wanted to get you on here. Former college basketball player, former standout basketball player in high school. So and now she's really faith-based and one of my good friends. So we've kept in contact for all these years. So I appreciate you being on here and just wanted to tell the world your story and where you're at now with your faith and just everything. Okay,
I appreciate you having me. I'm
for
excited to
sure,
get
for sure.
it.
So let's get it. So let's start off. So I want you to go into detail about basketball. That's your love. Where did that start for you? And just walk us through your career and everything.
Yeah, so actually my first love, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but my first love was track. I started
Mm,
running track when I think I was like 5 or 6 years old.
okay.
And I ran track for some years, I think maybe like 4 or 5 years. And I
Okay.
was really good in track. Matter of fact, I stopped running track in 10th grade, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Um, but my family, all of my family loves to play basketball. My
Mm,
two older brothers, there's hoopers, and my
yep.
dad is a hooper. And my
Yep.
whole family, like everybody, just loves basketball. So of course, I'm like, everybody's always playing. Let me get into this
For
too. So I
sure.
told my parents, I was like, I really want to play basketball. And they were like, okay, well, let's do it. Because they didn't want to be outside in the track meet and all that. It's hot all day long. They
Exactly.
didn't want
Right.
they wanted to be indoors anyway. So they were down for it. So I started playing, I think I was like 10 or 11 when I
Hmm.
started playing basketball. I played for a little small league. I was too good on the first day because I was a perfectionist. All
Right.
right. As soon as I picked up a ball, I was outside all day until the street lights came on.
Yeah.
And so then I got into a YMCA boys and girls co-ed team, and I was like
Okay.
the best on the team. And okay, she know what she's doing. She know what
Right.
she's
She can
doing.
hoop a little
So
bit.
yeah, I was getting good. I was getting good.
Yeah.
Cause actually when I grew up, we me and another family in our neighborhood were the only two in the whole neighborhood, and I'm talking in California,
Okay.
who had basketball courts. So what they would do is one lived on one corner and one lived on the other side of the street. One person would take their basketball court all the way around the corner
Oh my
to play
goodness.
a full court basketball
You
games
got to
in
make
the
it work.
street.
You got to make it
Man,
work.
the whole neighborhood would come to watch play basketball, and
Right.
I would be there watching too because I was too small to play. But those type of memories make you want to, dive into the game a little bit more. So
For sure. No, that's good. It's good. I feel like everybody has like that. They find that love at an early age, and
mm,
they're outside playing. Like with me in baseball, like I was playing like baseball, like just in the streets with like friends and stuff like that. So it's the
see,
same concept.
yeah,
So
build that
you
up.
got through. You played middle school basketball. You got to high school. Walk us through, what it was like to play, play basketball at high school level.
Yeah, so it was difficult. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was
Hmm.
difficult. First because I was still a two sport athlete. So I was still playing basketball and still running track. So I
Yeah.
didn't really have one that I loved more or wanted to focus more on. I know a lot of athletes get to that they two sport athlete.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure you went through that too. It's like
I
which
did.
one do I need to focus on?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my ninth grade year, I played summer basketball. In my 10th grade year, I ran summer track. And
Wow.
so those 2 years, my parents gave me the opportunity to like, okay, now you need to figure out which one you want to do.
Back.
But I was still struggling with that because I
Yeah.
love track. I love track. But in God's sovereignty, I got kicked off of my high school track team.
Oh goodness.
So
What happened with that?
Man, okay, I'm gonna tell you. So, one weekend they had prom, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was like always the second fastest on the
Yeah.
track team, and every track team I was on. So, on the weekend they had prom, all the fast people was gone, and I
Yeah.
was going to prom my 10th grade year.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, I'm not gonna go to the track meet.
Oh my gosh.
I was gonna be the only one that was fast. So I
Basically.
instead, yeah, I didn't go. So I got kicked off for that. He found out I didn't go to prom, and so he kicked
And
me
that's
off.
all she wrote. And that just sealed the deal.
Yep. I said, fine, I'm gonna play basketball anyway.
Right, exactly. So it made it easy for you to pick basketball, which is cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, for
and
sure.
then with you, did you play varsity your freshman year?
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
played varsity the whole all 4 years.
Okay.
I think I even started all 4 years. I
I
want to
think you
say I
did too.
started.
I think you did too. From
Yeah.
what I remember, at least, I know you started, which was good. And what
hmm
was the farthest y'all made it in the playoffs wise, like throughout your 4 years?
All right, so this is what I wanted to say. Yeah. So it was difficult because we played in the top region in
Yes.
Georgia, like
Yeah.
the best region. We had Reading, who won
Mm-hmm.
state like 5 years in a row, something like that, something
Yeah.
astronomical. We had Stevenson, who
Yeah.
won like back-to-back championships. We had MLK and Westlake and Newton, and nobody in Henry County
All the
was in
historic,
our.
all the historic black high schools in Georgia who were really good at basketball. It was in y'all
Yes.
region.
Yes. So it was difficult. It was like really difficult. Actually, the team that won the championship was in our region, and they had like 5 girls go D1. Like their whole
Woo,
starting five went D1.
woo,
So
goodness
yeah.
gracious.
Yes. So they were like that year. Those years. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
that year, those years. So it was really difficult. Every year, in the region, we would always end up fourth place to
Mm-hmm.
make it to the state. And in the state tournament, the fourth place team will always play the first place team.
Tough
So
matchup.
yes, tough matchup. So it was a few years. I think we only made it to the Sweet 16 every year.
That's still good though.
It was good, but
It,
let me
it's
tell
good. It's
you,
good compared to like the grand scheme.
yeah, yeah. Because we're living in, outskirts of Atlanta. We don't
Exactly.
get the type of athletes that you get in those bigger schools.
Right.
So we had to work hard for ours. I'll tell you that. We had
Yeah.
to
No,
work
I believe.
hard.
I remember going to a lot of y'all's games because I was cool with a lot of y'all, and like y'all were playing against like some really good talent. I mean, I remember each school having a Power Five girl here or there, and was a dog. And obviously, I remember like obviously with you, with Brittany, y'all had like with Terry Jacobs, y'all had good talent too. But
Yeah.
it was just like you said. I mean, you're playing when you've had to face a team that has five girls going D1. I mean, it's just tough.
It's tough. But let's get to that though. Let's get to that though, because Terry Jacobs is a phenomenal player.
Mm-hmm.
She left for a few years. So like she was there with us our
Yeah,
freshman year, or I think our sophomore and junior year, she left, but then she came back our senior year.
yeah, you're
So
right.
then that
Yeah.
year we were
Wow, I
on it, right?
completely forgot about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. So we were on like a 10-game winning streak, and here's where life happened. So 10-game winning streak, we just beat Westlake. College coaches are coming to see us everywhere, and I tear my ACL. I don't know if you remember that, but I tore
I do
my
not
ACL.
remember that. Oh my gosh, I don't remember
Yes,
that.
I tore my ACL with like 6 or 7, maybe 8 games left in the season, and we
Oh
were
man.
we were looking towards, we were probably going to win the region tournament our senior year, and we were probably going to go at least Elite Eight, Final
Yeah.
Four, um, state championship. But I turned my ACL.
Oh, so let's dive into that. So, because injury is a big part. Unfortunately, it's a part of being an athlete. I've had in college. I don't know if you know. I had 3 hand surgeries. I had 2 hand surgeries that
Wow, I
took me
didn't know
out for a
that.
while. So let's dive into that. So how was that? Your senior year. It's the best thing y'all probably had. You're looking toward the future, and that
Mm-hmm.
happens. Where were you at mentally when that happened?
Man, I was crushed. I was literally crushed because
Yeah.
at this time I was playing the best basketball that I had played in my life.
Yeah.
Like college coaches were coming to see me. Like a whole bunch of Division 1 school. Matter of fact, yeah, a whole bunch of Division 1 schools. I think some of them were there that night when I tore it.
Mm.
And wasn't able to talk to them because I was crying and limping. Like
Yeah.
I literally couldn't even talk to them after the game, but it literally crushed me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know like what the future would hold. I didn't have a scholarship yet. I
Yeah.
wasn't signed or anything like that. And it was tough.
Yeah.
But I want to share this story with you. So that was like a Tuesday night game. We played against
Mhm.
Newton. We were already up and winning the game, and our coach had me in at the end of the game for what? I don't know. It wasn't
Yeah.
even a game that was that important, but I tore it on just like a freak accident.
Yeah.
Like literally, I felt my knee buckle, but it didn't really hurt. It just
Yeah.
felt weird. So I got up and ran off the court. Like most people, when they tear their ACL, they're crying, screaming. But
Yeah.
I'm like, it feel weird, but I don't know. Maybe it's okay. Maybe it's
I've
not.
heard
I
that
wasn't sure.
before. I've had some friends that unfortunately have torn their ACL, and some like feel it's a wrap, and some are like, "Dang, like I kind of tweaked my knee a little bit. Like this, I've never
Hmm.
felt this feeling before." And after going to the MRI and stuff, I was like, "Yeah, you actually just completely tore your ACL." So it's
Yeah. So
crazy
that's
how like that's the feeling you had.
Yeah, so that's what happened to me. So Tuesday was the night that I tore my ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday we made an appointment because
Yeah, you had to go figure
I
out what's going
was,
on.
I was top 100 ESPN point guards in the nation. So
Wow,
we already knew that I was gonna go to college. So I'm
for
like,
sure.
I need to figure out right now if something's really going on because I
Yeah,
woke up that morning and couldn't even move my leg, and I was like, something bad is
something's
happening.
wrong. Yeah.
So we booked an MRI that Wednesday because I had a official visit to University of South Carolina Upstate that
Mm.
weekend.
Oh man. Oh man.
Yes, that very same weekend. So we're like, we need to hurry up. We need to find out. I literally went on that visit with a knee brace, limping the whole entire time.
Yeah.
It was tragic. But so I think that Thursday before we left on Friday, I don't remember the exact same timeline, but I think it was that Thursday they said, yeah, you tore your ACL. So
Mm.
I was crushed. I cried for about 2 hours,
Yeah.
literally
Did you
about
already
two
know
hours.
though? Did you like once like you felt that? Did you know it was something that detrimental,
I'm a
or did you
very
still have hope?
optimistic. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
very optimistic. So it's like I thought that everything was gonna be good,
Yeah.
I thought it was maybe just a sprain or something like that. But that morning when I couldn't move it, I was like,
Yeah.
something bad.
For
Something bad
sure.
happened.
Oh man, that sucks to hear. I completely forgot about that. So
Yeah.
let's dive into after that. Now, like you said, you had a lot of colleges looking at you. You're going through the recruiting process. Walk us
Hmm.
through that recruiting process and how that impacted, with where you might have went or where you went. Like, walk us through what that was like.
Yeah, it impacted me a lot because actually, before my senior season, I think the only college that was really heavy on me was Samford University
Mm-hmm.
in Alabama.
Yeah.
And they were heavy on me, but I didn't really have a lot of recruiting because I'm
Yeah.
short. I'm
Yeah.
5'2".
Yeah. Yeah.
And basketball players, everybody's tall.
For
So
sure.
what my dad did, and just shout out to my dad for really taking the um just the wheel on my recruiting. He
Mm-hmm.
made my highlight tape and started sending it out to colleges.
Mm.
Sending it out to colleges. And then when one school would hit me back, he would send it to every person, like every school in that conference that needed a point guard. He's
Mm.
like, if this college wants you in this conference, then everybody else probably wants you in that conference too. So
Fact.
let's check the roster and see, do they have a senior point guard coming out? Maybe need a senior
Yeah.
point guard. I mean, a freshman coming in. So my dad really took the wheels on my recruiting process and just kudos. Like I love the fact that I have a parent like that, who was like proactive about my recruiting.
Yeah.
So he started sending out and colleges would hit him back and they started coming to my games and things like that. Um, and then when I tore my ACL, it's crazy because that day I was crying for like 2 hours, but on the same day that I was crying, I thought my career was gonna be over because I didn't sign anything. 3 colleges called me, 3 Division I colleges called me, and my dad was like, we just got the worst news because they were like, we want to come see her game next week. Can
Yeah.
we come see what's the schedule? And he was like, we just got the worst news. Like, she just tore her ACL. And all three of them that day said, "Oh, don't worry about that. She'll be back. She'll be fine. We'll get her." And so my, morale got back. I'm like, okay, well then
You're
I
like,
guess
I
I'm
can
good
still do
enough.
this.
Yeah, I can still do this. This is not a career ending,
And that's a testament to your game of like how good you were playing. I mean, because I mean, you were in college for 4 years. Like sometimes that is a deterrent for a lot of schools. I mean, if you are kind of on the line of their recruiting process and that something happens, that's gonna push them towards, going this way. So the fact that they all still were very interested and were cool with it, that just goes to show how good of a player you were.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I worked hard, and it goes to show like my character too, because
Yep.
like you can come back, but how hard are you going to work to actually get back and get to the level of play that you need to?
Absolutely.
Especially if you go into the top Division Is, like, are you going to be ready when you get there? Because it's already hard for the freshmen to come in anyway.
And that's in any sport. As a freshman. And let's dive into that because it's hard because of the game, faster pace. But I mean, I don't know what your schedule was like, but we were running at 6 a.m., class at 8, trying to find somewhere to get some food in, practice from 1 to like 4:30.
Yes.
Weights from 5 to 6, study hall from 6:30 to 8:30.
Yes.
Mandatory study hall. Like you gotta be
mandatory.
there. You gotta mix in a tutor here or there. And you do that.
We had mandatory 10 hours a week as a freshman.
Same. I'm like, 10 hours. I'm supposed to get this in at.
When? And my coach still wants me to shoot around and get better. How?
So I forgot about that. On top of the extra work you're putting in, because you can't just practice and think you're gonna do something. That ain't gonna work. So it's the extra work.
Especially not as a freshman. You ain't did nothing.
Definitely not as a freshman.
You need to get extra work in. Yeah. So
for sure.
Yeah. So back to like the recruiting. So I ended up when I went on that first visit when my ACL was torn, I actually gave a verbal commit to University of South Carolina Upstate, but I didn't end up going there. Yeah. And it was
what happened with that?
Yes. So I went to the visit, and when I was there, I kind of liked it. I liked everybody or whatever, but I went out with the team. So like when you go on your visit, they let you go on with the team and stay with them and all that. And one of the girls, I said, "So what do you think about Upstate? Should I come here?" She was like, "Well, I wouldn't tell you to come, but I wouldn't tell you not to come." And immediately I was like, that don't sound right to me.
That's a huge red flag.
Huge red flag. This is a player, like a now player.
Yeah.
And she was good too. It wasn't like she was a scrub riding the pine and she just hated her coaches. Like she was good. So I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do this. And so the other coach, Coppin State University, where I ended up going, my alma mater, he called me. I was like ignoring his phone calls for weeks because I didn't want to tell him I had
gave the verbal, yeah.
Yeah, and
that's
he was
the worst
like,
call. You're gonna call everybody else and let them know that.
I know. It's so cringy. It's so cringy. But he was like, you know what? I just really want you to come up here, and if you don't like it, fine. But just come up here and experience, because they wanted to already pay for my official visit anyway. So I was like, it ain't gonna hurt.
You're right.
I went up there. It's HBCU. I said, this is where I'm going.
Yeah. What made you fall in love with the HBCU life?
Yeah, I think it was just, people that look like me who were happy to be in college and were smart and intelligent and just having fun, and like, I don't know, it just felt safe. I don't know. That's the question. I mean, that's the answer.
That's good. Hey everybody, little technical difficulties, still some growing pains, but we're back at it.
Yeah.
Thank God for editing. So, but
For sure.
so where we left off at is where you were decommitting in your
Yeah.
process because you really enjoyed going to Coppin State. So, what continue on that, please?
Yeah, so once I went there, I was like, yeah, this is the place that I need to be. I just felt it in my heart. So I was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna have to call this coach and tell her. And actually it was really a traumatic experience for me because I called her. First of all, it took me forever.
Right.
I
Right. You
was
don't want to that
delaying the
call.
process. I didn't want to talk about it.
Right.
But so I finally called her and I was just pacing up and down the street. And she really went off on me. She actually like even
Mm.
cussed me out
Oh
on the call.
man.
Yeah, she was like, you don't have no integrity. Like when you give your word to something, you gotta do it and da da da. And when I got off the call, I was like, and this is exactly why God didn't want me to go here. So
Exactly.
it made me
Everything
feel
happens for a
better.
reason. Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, and that solidified it.
Yep, it
And
did.
what I wanted to say before we went forward further is like even with my experience, like because you talk about the HBCU experience, and I went obviously you can see behind me. I went to the University of Tennessee, diehard Vol for life.
Yeah.
I'm glad I did what I did.
Yeah.
But I always have that what if of like me going to an HBCU because a lot of people don't know this, but my freshman year, I struggled a little bit with like just the culture. I mean, in
Mm.
Atlanta, you know, you always and people don't know, but Georgia, Atlanta, like it's the cream of the crop for black baseball players. And
I didn't know
like
that.
yeah, and even on like our high school team, like we had 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, we had a lot of black guys that played on our team. So I was always around. Most of the time, I was always around people who looked like me. So when I
Yes.
went to Tennessee and that wasn't the case, I think it was me and one other black guy who ended up becoming one of my best friends. But it was a struggle. It was a big struggle. So I always wondered like what that would look like if I went to HBCU was like around people like me. But you know, hindsight 2020, and that's just a thought that I have. So the fact that you said that, you know, it brought that back up.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I'm proud to be an alumni of whatever the real word
Hmm.
is,
For
of
sure.
Coppin State University. I love my school, I love my college, and I love Baltimore. I actually love Baltimore. It was a rough area, but I actually loved it. I ended up loving it. So
Yeah,
it
and
was an amazing experience for me.
yeah, for I bet because me and my wife, I don't know if you know, we actually lived in the DMV. We lived in Arlington, Virginia for 3.5 years, and I had never been to like the DMV before. And obviously Baltimore is like an hour out, but we were
Mhm.
always in Baltimore for whatever reason, and it's a different lifestyle out there.
It is.
People from the DC area, people from Baltimore, they are different, but it is
They
so
are
cool.
different.
They are so cool and
Yes,
it's
the
different.
people
So
there. I tell people all the time, like Baltimore, they have great people. Like their
yeah,
hearts are great people. It's just a lot going on there.
it
You
is.
know, it's not a place you want to live, but the people are great.
People are great, but yeah, you take one wrong turn in Baltimore, it's a wrap. It's a
You're in
wrap.
trouble.
You are definitely in trouble. Ain't nobody to call. So so let's get into it. So, you know,
Gosh.
you get to Coppin State. What was that like? What was that your freshman year like? And just walk us through what that was like for you.
Yeah, so I really think it was a God thing because when I got there, first of all, in high school I had the big head because
Mhm.
I just I just knew I was good. So I just
Yeah,
had the big head. But tearing my ACL humbled me.
for
So,
sure.
whenever you go to college, most colleges, they'll send the freshmen there over the summer or the whole
Hmm.
team there over the summer,
Yeah.
just to, start the process earlier. So I went there over the summer, actually took college courses in a program called SASA. And I took courses. It was almost like I was doing the college life. We would go to class and then my coaches had us practicing. Like
Yep.
it was four, and we had four freshmen that year.
Okay.
And one transfer. So four freshmen, we all had to go to practice every day
Yep.
after we went to class in the summertime. And it was such a blessing because I was able to get one-on-one time with our strength and conditioning coach to help
Good.
me to recover. Because
Yeah.
mind you, I tore my ACL in, I think, January, February, and this is
Hmm.
June, July. So that's only, what, how many months? A few
Like
months.
yeah,
So
6 months out. Yeah.
yeah, and they say it usually take, I think at the end it's taking like 8 or 9 months till you fully
Hmm.
back together. So it was such a blessing to be able to be under my coach in that time, and he really trained me. He really got my strength back together, taught me how to run again. I had to learn how to run again, jump
Hmm.
again, skip again, go backwards. So it's very humbling to have to learn all that stuff again. So I had to come in like on a mission, and I
Yeah.
did.
Good. Good.
I
I mean,
did.
you had to. Yeah, like when you get to college, it's sink or swim. Because
Mm-hmm.
although you were a great player, I think you realize that there's great players everywhere. So it's like, how can
Exactly.
Amber Griffin stick out after having this injury? How can you stick out that being able to have a decent slash good career to get to that next
100%.
stage? So you're right. I mean, you have
Yeah.
to put the work in, not only like off the court but on the court, and when it comes to injury, like getting back healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So how was college? How was like the speed of the game? Like, what was that like your first college game? Like, just walk us through what that was like.
Man, so college, the speed, just the
Yeah.
speed is, mind you, I didn't know I couldn't run because I just tore my ACL. I had to
Yep.
learn how to run. I was fast, but man, this was fast. And in high school, I used to throw a lot of no looks, and I was real flashy, like Magic Johnson. That was one of my favorite players.
Hmm.
But in college, was none of that getting through.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't. It don't matter if I know. Look, they were stealing it. Their hands
Yeah.
was long. I mean, their arms were long. Like, so I had to be smarter. I couldn't do the flashy stuff anymore, and everything was just so fast.
Yeah.
And so, that was a very big transition. It was very, very hard at first, especially coming back from an injury. But I got over it. I actually think I averaged like 17 minutes as a freshman, which
Okay.
is huge because
Yeah.
you only play 40 minutes in a basketball game. And all I love my homegirls, but all the rest of them was on the bench and I was playing.
Yeah. Hey, dog eat dog, man. You got to
Look,
get in
them
when you
17
can.
minutes, I was getting in when
For
and
sure.
to your point, yeah, you got to figure out how do you stick out? And what I did was like, I knew I wasn't gonna score a lot. I'm
Yeah.
5'2", everybody's 6 foot, but I'm gonna lock some people up. And
Yep.
we were playing top teams. Like we were playing my University of Miami every year, Georgia
Yeah.
Tech, UGA, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Syracuse. So we were playing all these teams every year, and
Hmm.
I had to lock up one of the best point guards in the nation.
Yeah.
So like if I can lock you up, I might not score no point, but you ain't gonna score no point
Yeah.
either.
You did your job. You did your job. For sure.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that you say that, because I was like scrolling on, I think, IG, and Fred Van Fleet, I think he plays in the NBA,
Mm.
and he's a smaller point guard, and he was talking about his experience like for high school kids who are small point guards. And I feel, although it's women's basketball, it's the same thing. It's like, if you're a smaller point guard, like you have the two things, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he said the two things that you have to be good at, either one or the other, is one, you have to be able to shoot, or two, you have to be able to guard somebody from like 94 feet. Like, you
Mhm.
have to be able to guard and
Mhm.
be a pest. There's one thing to guard somebody,
Yes.
and it's one thing to be a pest. So the fact that you mentioned
Yes.
the defensive side, like that shows. And people have
And
gotten,
I was
I
a
feel like people have gotten
pest.
scholarship. Exactly. People have gotten looked at in scholarships from that aggressive mentality on the defensive side.
Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't getting no buckets. I was not getting no buckets, but I was locking them girls up though, so
That's what you got to
it'll
do.
cancel it
For
out.
sure, for
But
sure.
yeah, so moving forward, like we actually, so that was my freshman year, but sophomore year we went to the conference championship game. It was on
Okay.
ESPN. I was starting. I actually,
Ooh.
me and my other one of the other best players, Kyra Coleman, we were tied for the most minutes in the entire conference. So me and her
Wow.
was playing like 30. I went from 17 minutes freshman year to like 39 minutes out of 40 minutes in the whole game.
Wow.
So at this point, my knee is not a problem no more.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm hooping, we're hooping, and we're playing great basketball. We actually lost in the championship, um, my sophomore year by like 3 points.
Mm. And I would
I
have put
think
y'all in
it
the
might have been
tournament.
overtime. I think it was overtime, 3 points.
Yeah.
And so we weren't able to go to the NCAA tournament, and that crushed me. And
Yeah. Who'd y'all lose to in the championship game?
Hampton University.
Hampton. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually not in the MEAC anymore, but at the time they had won like 3 or 4 championships back in a row.
Mm.
So we thought we was gonna get them, but we didn't.
Yeah, it's all hey, it's all good. It's all good. The
Yeah.
fact that y'all made it, y'all like it's one thing to like be doing things in high school, but when you make it to like playoff situation or like a conference championship in not only in college but like Division 1, it's different. Like my brother
Yeah.
and them, kind of in the same boat. My brother went to Georgia Southern, and his senior year, they made it to their conference championship, and they played against South Alabama. And if they win that, they make it to they make it to and they make the
NCAA.
regional, or they make it to the tournament basically,
Mhm.
and they unfortunately lost. And I think like with
Yeah.
Georgia Southern, that was like the 4th time in a row losing the conference championship. So
And guess what else?
sucks. What?
So junior year, we was sorry. We went
Oh
from
dang.
senior year to good to junior year to sorry because we lost like 3 amazing players. They
Yeah.
were all seniors. Then senior year, you thought I was about to come back and be like junior year? No, not a
Yeah.
chance. I worked so hard. I probably gained like 5 or 6 pounds over the summer,
Mm.
like pumping weight with this Russian trainer. We
Yeah.
was going hard. We was going hard. I came back with a vengeance. Okay.
Hmm.
I led my team that year as well. I had moved to the 2 at this
Okay.
time too. Because I was like one of the best scorers on the team. And we
Yeah.
had another point guard, Jency Lucas. She's amazing. Um, come up under me. So we made it to the championship again. My senior year,
Okay.
I'm leading my team, I'm leading
Yep.
my team, and we lost again in
Devastating.
the championship.
And
Devastating.
that's how you end your
Devastating.
career.
Yeah, because I actually was working so hard, and I think this is how we transition into like my faith because I was working so hard. I made basketball a god for real. Like I
Woo.
I had my gallbladder inflamed my senior year. I had torn an abdominal muscle or strained an abdominal muscle, just the most randomest injuries ever.
Yeah.
I really think I fractured my ankle, but guess who was still playing? I was still playing.
Hmm.
They would wrap my torso up before the game. I was like, put some something on this. We about to
Yeah.
play.
I gotta get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy that you
So,
say that because I had Julius on my first episode and he said the same thing, how basically in a nutshell, how he made baseball his god, and the Holy Spirit talked to him and was like, no, like this ain't how it's supposed to be. And
mhm.
whenever we do that, I think we've all been there, things start to happen. So
Yeah.
transitioning into that, the faith side, one thing that I really admire about you is how you're very vocal about your faith. If you can just walk us through, because walk me through like what that was like. Like, have you always been, a Christian? Have you always, what is that? What was that like?
Yeah, I actually gave my life to Christ at 6 years old. Like I used to, I was always in the church. My parents were deacons and deaconesses in the church,
Okay.
so most of my life I was in church, and
Okay.
I just always had a keen relationship with the Lord.
Yep.
So I would hear Him speaking to me at a young age, very young age,
Wow.
dreaming and all types of things, and so I really felt Him pulling me at 6 years old. But now life happens and I was
Hmm.
lifing. Okay.
Yeah,
I
we
was
all
like,
were. We
I went
all
to
were.
HBCU and it was
Yeah.
no Christian. I wasn't doing nothing Christian. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he started to draw me back to him. And so in 2019, I really just surrendered my life to him, and
Hmm.
he changed me from the inside out. Like I'm not even the same person that I used to be at
Yeah.
all. Like anybody who used to know me, you don't know me
Yeah.
anymore. Because
Right.
in him you are a new creation, and I am literally that. I'm not the same person anymore. So yeah, I'm just grateful to be to have a relationship with him, and because I have a relationship with him, I want to share him with
For sure.
everybody else.
For sure. And
Yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of people, and I thought the same way, that we think it's more of a outside in, but more of an inside out. It's the heart change that allows the flesh to be able to listen to what we need to be for God. So the fact that you said it happened from the inside out, that's how it
Mhm.
happens. I mean, even
Mhm.
for me, I think I've always been a Christian. I believed in Jesus, but it wasn't up until honestly as of I've been let me say this. I'll say I've been lukewarm for several years. Like I believed in Jesus, I believed in God, Like I didn't know the Bible, but I knew of the Bible. I would read it here and there. But I didn't have that personal relationship with Jesus. I didn't have that personal relationship with God where I would, talk to them daily, do my devotionals, try to learn about the life of Jesus, try to learn about some of these things that happen in the Bible. Because for me, that's what really, I'm a huge historian. And that's what really got me into where I'm at now. Because I think and I don't know why I did this, but the first book I ever read of the Bible was Revelations. And I had no idea what was this talking about. I was like, what is this? What is that? I was like, this don't make no sense. And then you see, oh, this is end times. I'm like, what? So I basically started backwards. And then I was like, no, this don't make no sense. So I was on a journey. I was like, you know what? Since I love history, I'm gonna start from scratch and just start with page one. And it took me a while because I really wanted to dissect each thing. But because I was fact checking. I was like, I would like read about somebody and then go look up other like historic articles and read about that same person there. Like
I
the
love
Bible
that.
is
I love
like
that.
there's so many different books that talk about things and people of the Bible. Like Paul is just in the Bible. There's other documents of Paul and what he's done and what he did, good and bad. Like the flood, like that's not just in the Bible. Every religion has some form of flood story, and there's historical proof that shows that, as well as archaeological. So that's where my faith came, and then once I started doing that from scratch, the heart change started to happen, and I didn't even know it. I really didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, this Bible, look, I carry this everywhere I go. You can call me churchy, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
But it's alive. Like it's literally alive. Like
Absolutely.
it's
Absolutely.
gonna
So
change you. If you read it, it's gonna change you for
and
sure.
you once you and I tell people, I'm like, read it, because a devotional is great, but you need to what really helped me, and this is where I try to tell people, I'm like, the stories of the Bible made Jesus that much better,
Mm-hmm.
because of just not the people think that like these people in the Bible, like the Davids and the Pauls and the Moses and the Abrahams, and like I can go on and on. They all had issues, some more than other.
For
Like
sure.
David was the
For sure.
man. David, God loved David. David had X, Y, Z. He was a warrior, like everything, and he did one of the dirtiest dirts in the Bible. So it's like God is using these people who have gone through all this, and even Paul. I mean, we all know we know what Paul did. He was killing Christians, like he was killing
Saul
them.
before you fall.
Exactly, and it's the fact that God could use them for His ministry and His purpose. Like it's the same thing with us, and that just makes
Yeah.
Jesus that much better. I mean, there was so much prophecy about Jesus, the Messiah, in Old Testament, and when He came, they just missed him. It
Yep.
just missed him.
Right in front of
So
your face. You can't
right,
see him.
exactly, right in front of your face. So for
Yeah.
you, this is a tough question, but who is Jesus to you?
Yeah. I love that question. So, initially, like I was telling you, like when I was 6, he was my savior.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the one who paid the debt for me that
Yep,
I couldn't pay. Everybody has a debt. So, are
absolutely.
you gonna pay it, or do you want Jesus to pay it? Because he's
Yep,
already paid it. You got to accept the you have to accept the gift that he paid it
absolutely.
for
That's
you.
what it is.
So he is my savior, but now he's also my Lord too. Like I want
Mm-hmm.
to serve him. I want to look to him to see how I should live this life. He's also my shepherd, one who guides me. He gives me direction. He's my healer. He's literally healing my heart, like we talked about, from the inside out. He's a friend, somebody I can talk to and give me advice to. He's literally everything to me. And he's not just this far away God that you aren't able to talk to. Like if you ask, seek, and knock, I put that on my Instagram yesterday. He will be found. Like,
Yeah,
and so yeah, he's everything to me. Yeah.
for sure, for sure. I completely agree. I mean, when you're going through this journey of trying to figure out, who God is and who Jesus is, and once you do your reading, you realize that you're gonna go through stuff. Like you're gonna go through trials and tribulations. You're gonna
Hmm.
go through sickness. There's death. There's all types of things from a fall, like that comes from this fallen world. That's why it
Hmm.
happens. but
Yeah.
Jesus is right there with you. And with that being, and that's not like a figurative thing. That's literal. Like he is right there with you. And I really feel like
Yes, yes.
when we do get to heaven, we'll be, I don't know how it will, but we'll know how much glory and how righteous he is and how much he was actually right there with us through those tough times.
The
Because
whole time.
yes, because and we've all gone through things. I mean, I've gone through several things. I've fought demons and I've fought things that were really, on me like heavy, and I didn't know it at the time, obviously. But by the time I did know it, like I'm like trying so hard to break these, spiritual change and spiritual things, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do it. And it took me, really just believing like Jesus, like I can't do this. Like please, like I'll whatever it takes, like please just get this off of me.
Mm-hmm.
And over time it happens, but once again, and kind of what you said, is the heart change. That I think that's one of the more important things that a lot of us miss, not us, but like a lot of people or Christians miss, is the actual heart change. If you can just walk me through, what did that mean to you, like the actual heart change, and then going from there.
Yeah. So I don't know a lot of people know this, but I actually was like a full-blown alcoholic. So one of the things that I was asking the Lord help me with, like, because I'll always try to stop drinking,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't. I could not do it on my own, and that was one of the tangible things. Because the one thing you got to know is like things that are happening on the outside is just a fruit of the root. The real
Yep.
root issue is in your heart. There's like
Yeah.
unforgiveness or things that you need to heal from or whatever it may be. But whatever you're doing on the outside is just a fruit of what that is. And so I was dealing with a lot of stuff in my heart, and
Hmm.
but I was asking God to help me with this tangible stuff that I can't get rid of,
Yeah.
And then he started to just change me in my heart, and he just draw me closer. Like, I started reading the word more, and I started listening to Christian music and gospel and things like that, things that actually gave me life, not
Yeah.
music that just talks about stuff that I don't even do on a daily basis
Right,
anyway.
for
Like I'm
sure.
not just listening to music just cause, but listening to music that speaks life into me. And
That builds the
um
spirit.
yeah, and then also just getting in community, getting in with other people, like-minded people who actually are walking this walk out and seeing the things in your heart that need to be changed so that you can go back to the Lord and say, Lord, I didn't know this was even in me. They showed me, can you help me with this? Because
Yep.
there's certain things, like I know you know this as a husband, like you probably didn't think you had some of the stuff in your heart that you have now. But your
Absolutely.
wife will tell you, you're not really good in that area. And so
Yeah.
that's what community does for you too. And so just being in community as well has really just changed my heart. And I'll be sober for 4 years in a few days. So
Good. Congratulations. Congrats.
thank you. God is good on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it
That's
just it takes time. It's a process. That's one
for
thing I
sure.
would say. It is a process, not just an overnight thing. It's a
Absolutely
process. Your
not.
heart starts to change and your mind follows after that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing that. And then you really hit on the community side, because we can't do this on our own. And with you, you were really involved in your church, and I want you to elaborate on what that was like. So if you can, just elaborate what that was, what you were doing in the church that God led you to do.
Yeah, so God really blessed me in 2020 over the pandemic. Um I joined a small group and I was in it for like, man, it was only like 3 weeks. But
Mhm.
during that time a lot of people wasn't really going to church no more because it was just like, I'm tired of this online Zoom stuff. And so the leader that was there, actually she was ready to stop being a leader. So God was calling her to step back.
Okay.
And I was in there and she saw my potential to become a leader. And so she said, I really feel like God is calling you to be a leader. So I actually led a small group for 3 years, women ranging from 18 all the way up to like 50s and 60s. I was
Wow.
discipling them week in and week out. Every single Saturday, we would meet on Zoom, and God gave me this special Zoom call to where I was discipling women all over the world. Like I literally
Wow.
had women in Canada and women in Ireland and women in Australia and women in Barbados and New York and Arizona, Alabama. Like my group ended up being like an international group.
Yeah.
of women that we would meet on Zoom every week and just walk this life out and tell everything that we were going through and give each other advice and pray for each other and fast with each other. Like, it was literally one of the most beautiful, most honoring things that God has ever given me. So I did that for 3 years, and this last May was the last group that I had led. So it's been a journey. It's been
That's amazing.
amazing.
That is
I thought that
absolutely
I was
amazing.
helping them, but they were helping me.
Yeah,
So
that's how it works. It's crazy. Like, it's iron sharpens iron. So like, yeah, you were helping them for sure, but they were also helping you in certain ways, which is great. Um,
hmm
so in which another topic I wanted to get on is, which I feel like in our society we're dealing with a lot right now, is like the lukewarmness. People who are of the word but are kind of living to their flesh rather than living to what they're supposed to live. So what does that term lukewarmness mean to you?
yeah. So I think it means just dibble dabbling, 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah,
1 foot in, 1 foot out. One in the world, one with God. You come to God when you want something, and you go to the world when you want something else. And
yeah,
you're not fully focused or fully committed to anything, to any side. And
yeah,
that term comes from a verse in Revelations where um uh it was just talking about, I'd rather spit you out my mouth I'd rather you be hot or cold, or I'll spit you out.
yeah,
And so in this world right now, I think it's because everybody wants their cake and eat it too.
yeah,
And nobody really wants to surrender. Nobody really wants to surrender their will. They want what they want, but they want the blessings of God. And so you can't really do that. You can't really do
sure.
that.
No,
Um God is asking us to come to him with a humble heart,
yeah,
with a humility about ourselves. And also, he wants good things for us. Like,
yep,
what he wants for us is better than what we could ever want for ourselves,
absolutely.
because he created us. And so I think that right now people want to feed their spirit and their flesh, and that's what
Mhm.
makes you lukewarm.
Absolutely, and
Because your
that's a
spirit and your flesh are at war against each other. They don't want the same things.
it,
But the more you keep feeding your flesh, your spirit is gonna suffer.
absolutely.
So
Paul talks about it, man. It's not a battle of like it's the battle of the spirit that's going on. Like we like
hmm
our spirits are battling with what's going on in the spiritual world and with our flesh. I mean, our
hmm
flesh is of the world, so it is hard.
yeah,
I get it. I mean, we've all been there. It's
for
hard.
sure.
And I always I always tell one of my friends this when we talk, because we've had these conversations, and basically I was like, you got to think about it this way. I mean, you have a fence, right? Is right, like, just say it's in the middle of the pasture basically, and you're kind of on the fence, and you have God on one side and the devil on another, and God's telling you to come with me, and the devil's just like, no, come with me. And you're thinking about it. So God's like, okay. So he kind of walks away and the devil walks away, and
hmm
you're taking that time to think about what's going to happen. The devil
hmm
comes up the next day, is like, hey, come with me, and he's like, I haven't thought about it yet, and the devil says,
mm
I own the fence.
Mm.
See what I'm saying?
Mm-mm-mm.
So
See, because when it's your last day, okay, when it's
it's
your
a
last
wrap.
day, do you want to be on the fence then, or you want to choose the side you want to go to?
Exactly,
Ain't gonna be
exactly.
no choosing then. Like, you never
If
know when your last day
you've
is.
made your choice. If you think about it, you if you know what's going on, you've like you think you're kind of trying to dibble dabble in which one, but you're making your choice because God doesn't want just
Yep.
half of you. Like you're
Mm-mm.
leaving a lot of spiritual portals in your spirit open for all types of stuff to get into you. So
Yep.
it's one of those deals
100%.
where once you fully commit in your heart, everything else is going to slowly change around you. Now you're still going to deal with stuff. You're still going to have these thoughts, or you're still going to have these things around you, but
Yeah.
you have to kill your flesh basically, honestly, to get to where you want to go.
You do.
um
You do.
it's but with
And
that,
it's for your good. It is for your good. Like,
and
no matter what you think,
I ain't trying to
you
tell people, I'm
might
like,
think that, killing your flesh sounds bad, but it's actually very good because if you think
Hmm.
about it, everything here that is on the earth that feeds your flesh is going to perish one day. You're
Yep.
not gonna have the food, you're not gonna have the alcohol, you're not gonna have the drugs, you're not gonna have the woman or man you want to be with, you're not gonna have all the money. When you die and you gone, you still gonna have your spirit. Your flesh
Yep.
is gonna be here. So
Absolutely.
all of those things
Absolutely.
are good, you know.
No,
So
and God, like he don't give us these commands and rules for his own good. Like he does it to
right,
help us. Like he's
you.
yeah, he's trying to help us through this fallen world. He's not doing it to give himself glory. He gets that anyways. Like
Right,
so
exactly.
he loves us so much that he gives us the tools how to live this world, but because we're such a sinful nature, we go against it. And we some of like and we sin every day, but it's one thing to be a sinner and it's one thing to live in sin, in my opinion. I mean,
Yes,
like me and you, like yes, we will sin because we've come from a fallen world and we come from Adam and Eve. It happened, it just goes from there. Now, if
yeah,
you're living in sin, you know what you're doing, you know what's going
right.
on. The Holy Spirit is continuously trying to tell you, like, hey, no, 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 but we're not listening to the Holy Spirit.
And
So
rebellious.
it's
Yeah.
the battle. It's the battle, man. But
And boundaries, I want to say this, boundaries are a good thing, y'all.
yeah,
Like when God tells you don't do this, it's a good thing. Boundaries are a good thing. Even when we're in relationships. So you and your wife, there are boundaries, certain boundaries that you have within your marriage. Like don't go out and talk to other men. You know, like that's a good thing. It'll
yeah,
keep your marriage, on a healthy plate. But when it comes to God, it's like, oh, you want to tell me not to do this? I don't want you, but boundaries are good.
yeah.
Everyone
Boundaries
knows
are
that
good
when
and
it
they're
comes to your
needed.
own relationship, but you get mad when God gives you a boundary.
Absolutely. And even and yeah, absolutely. And even going to like the how you've been sober for 4 years, even I've had the revelation of knowing what the how much the Bible talks about having a sober mind, but knowing
Mm-hmm.
the spiritual battle, what happens of when you're not of a sober mind.
That
There
part.
is some deep stuff that can happen, whether it's from drugs or alcohol, that can happen when you're not of a sober mind. And God, once again, God's not telling us this for his own like will. He's doing this to help our spirit. Like
Exactly.
there's so much demons are waiting on that opportunity. It just
Yeah.
is. It really
Yeah.
is. And I hate to, put it blunt like that, but it really is. And once I
It's
realized
true.
that, um, I read a book basically. It's called "He Set the Captives Free." If you want to
Hmm.
read it, I'll give you more information about it. It's a crazy book,
Yeah.
but if you believe 1% of it, you gotta believe the whole thing. And it talks about one of the it's situations that it talks about what that sober mind looks like and why we want to be of a sober mind. One, you're able
Yeah.
to talk to God a lot clearer that way. Two, you're
Mm-hmm.
protecting yourself from anything that can happen in the spiritual realm that gets to your
Mm-hmm.
body. So um,
Mm-hmm.
after reading that, it really opened my eyes to like, look, man, like I can't keep doing this because I mean,
Right.
God wants me to go a different way, but two, I'm trying to have like these things like keep dealing with me, like keep like
Mm-mm.
hurting me and dealing with my spirit. So, you
Yeah,
know,
because that's my thing. It's like God never told us not to drink. He said don't get drunk.
that part,
And
that
my
part,
problem
that
was
part,
getting drunk. And then what
yeah,
happens after I get drunk? And
that
so
part,
because I can't differentiate like how to drink socially and getting drunk,
hmm
I just had to cut it out. Now that might not be everybody's story, but
for
that's my
sure,
story. And so I just want to make sure to say that too, because it's like, what happens after you drink? You getting
yeah.
drunk, and then what happens after you get drunk?
That part.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
because if you think about it, like if you also look at the lineage of like what alcohol was in the Bible, like the wine was brought out during special occasions. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was just brought out on a regular day. It was always a special occasion, even to the point
Yeah.
where Jesus made more of it. Now, with that being
Mm-hmm.
said, he clear as day talks about what happens when we get to a certain point. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, like understand where this comes from, but also like whatever it may be, don't get here because it's for your own
Right.
good. Trust.
Right. Sober
Um,
mind. Sober mind.
absolutely, and just even when you mentioned the marriage thing is like, and I try not to look at it or dive into it, but there's so many people, even that so-called Christians that try to say it's okay to like step out the marriage and do certain things. I'm like, do y'all not understand? Like,
Just don't get married.
right, right, just don't get married if that's gonna be the
Just
case.
don't do it.
I'm saying you messing up something like I really feel like marriage is a gift from God for us, like, because we become one. And even if you think about it, and this once again, knowing the Bible, when Jesus was talking to what's her name at the well, what's her name? Do you know? I forgot her name.
The
But
woman at the well. That's all I know.
Well, yes, but she was basically saying, she was like, I don't have a husband, and he said,
I know you don't have one. You got
5,
6 or 5, something like that.
5 or 6, and that came from the sex before marriage type thing. Because back then, you consummated your marriage in the bedroom. That meant that was your husband or wife. So Jesus was like, no, I know you don't have one. You have 5. So it's like that just goes to show how much spiritual ties there is from the sexual part. Once again, I'm like, if I knew all this, man, I always would have moved way differently. Like, and me and my wife talk about this because it's an actual thing, but that's just part of knowing the Bible and doing your actual reading and studying the stories, because everything that's there is to help us. So
yes, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, I know we've been on here for a while. There's one more question I want to ask before we wrap up. And I haven't asked it in a minute, but this podcast is to help people with get back to their faith or get to their faith, or even help high school players or middle school players in any sport navigate through high school and college. So to you, can you name me a person or two that you feel would be good to be on this podcast?
Yeah, I got 2 for it.
Okay. All
right. I would really love to see my father, on this podcast, because he has a story that has really impacted this community. He has helped so many young girls and boys, at Luella High School, the high school we went to, get college scholarships, and just a recruiting process and what that looks like, and how parents could really benefit from being proactive in the recruiting process and help their children stay out of debt. That's huge, coming out of college with no debt. And so I would love to see him on here, and talk about his faith as well. And then my best friend, Brittany Guy, shout out to Brittany Guy. She is a college coach for women's basketball at USC Aiken right now. So she has a story of her own as well, and walked through the journey with Christ. And so I would love to have her on here and see what it sounds like to be on the coach's side, in college, and what that looks like to be recruiting. It's a different side. What are they looking for and things like that. So I would love to see them on there. Yeah.
Absolutely. And shout out to your pops, because I used to always see him at games recording. So the fact that he was doing that not only for his kids, but also for just the community, is he's putting his stamp on all these people. And now when they go to college and they get their job, they can go back and obviously look at what they did, but look at your pops that helped them. So shout out to your pops. And obviously Brittany, I've known Brittany for I don't know how long now. She was
the one who you went to elementary school with.
She went to elementary school with me and middle school and high school. So and once again, she was a baller, and was able to go to college, and I know she's killing it in the college coaching ranks right now. And I for sure want coaches on here, because I want them to give the aspect. And although she's doing basketball, that's going to help other people, because it's like, what are they looking for, like in players? So definitely gonna get her on here. I'm gonna make that work. But Amber, man, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you having me. I appreciate you having me.
This was a great conversation. Although we had a little hiccup, we were good to go.
Right. Yeah, growing pains.
Exactly. That's what it is. Growing pains. Well, I appreciate you. Appreciate everything. Thank you for spreading saying your piece and giving your advice and spreading the word. And you're doing your thing. Continue to do what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. I will. And for y'all viewers out there, Jesus Christ is the only way, the way, the truth, and the life. So go find him. He's willing to be found. Go find him. So, yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's perfect to end off on. I appreciate you. This is the end of the podcast. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
Peace out.